Okay, so hi Paul, welcome to Ukiyoto. I hope you're doing great. And first of all, let me ask you, how was your book signing?
Yet. I'm in the process of getting it reserved.
Okay,
Getting reserved. So I haven't had it yet. I've contacted the person who's going to put it together. I'm now collecting logistics to make it happen. So it's probably in about 2 months I will have it for sure.
Okay, great. So we are here to talk about your new books, Gathering Book 1 and Book 2. So first of all, let's start with how long have you been writing?
Well, I've been creative writing for about 3 years. Okay, but my normal career, I do governmental reports and I do a lot of writing at professional level. So my creative approach has been only about 3 years.
Okay, and what is your writing inspiration? Sorry? What was your writing inspiration?
I think what my writing inspiration, well, I know is my grandkids. So just to let everybody know a little bit about me, I'm a kind of guy who loves humanities, like music, movies, and I think those are all great attributes to the mankind for obviously for coping mechanisms and for things like that. So in 2011, I was in a rock band. I'm still in a rock band, baby. But and then I tried to make a short film about 4 years ago. About 4 years ago, I made a short film. Believe it or not, it was called The Gathering. I put together all the makeup, the wardrobe. I bought the prosthetics and the filming. It was never released or published because I lacked the audio to have a sufficient movie. So only a few eyes have seen it, and I'm one of them. Nobody else has seen it. So so not to take forever. So I went into I thought, well, one more thing to do. Let me try to write a book. And I thought, I'm going to write a book for my grandkids, and of course I have a love for fantasy books and the idea of imagery and creativity. So hands down, I thought, fantasy book. Now, I could have wrote a book about my career and some things I've done and my world tours and travels or whatever. But I said, yeah, I'm going to get into the fantasy realm, something that I can give to my grandkids, great grandkids. So that was my inspiration. So I started, and it's been quite the experience.
Oh, great. So you can just go for, writing your own biography too. That'll be fine. So how did you came up with the title and theme of the book?
Well, the title actually was not created until about halfway through the first book. So when I first started the process, other than discovering how to do creative writing better, I was getting better as I was going. I realized that there was always a collective of minds creating something or having a meeting, whether it's nefarious, whether it's righteous. There's always a collection of minds. So I thought, well, you know what? It's a gathering, right? So I just, even though there's several titles like that in the literary industry, I thought, you know what? I don't care. It's for my grandkids. So I went with Gathering, and from there it kind of took off from there. Originally, this was only supposed to be one book, but then I fell in love with the creative writing and the idea of creating this world, and so I just kept going. And so the theme again, fantasy, magic, elves, dwarves, things like that, but also some created characters in there and creatures. But I love that kind of a non-realistic, some place where you can go away from the world, the earth. Not because I hate the earth, I love it, but it's because a place where some place you can go, and not only that is that I can really stretch my creativity and imagination. If I write about my life story, you'll go to sleep after a couple of pages, and then
Well, I'm not going to sleep when I'm reading Gathering, I'm sure about that. Okay, so what was your writing inspiration behind this book?
I think the inspiration really goes along with the idea of a bucket list. Something I'm getting up there in age. I'm not really old, but getting there. And so I thought, you know what? I'll just go ahead and add this on. I've done several other things. So I'm a rock band, movies, blah, blah, blah. So I thought, well, I'm gonna go ahead and try to write. So it's just one of those bucket list things that turned out that I wanted to give to the great grandkids. So in the year 2092, okay, my great grandkids are gonna pick up a book and say, hey, or their mother is gonna say, your great grandfather wrote this book. Serious. And matter of fact, that character is going to be your great grandma or your grandmother. Oh, okay. So
okay, that's a really nice story. It's okay, great. So can you tell us about the book without, giving away too much? Well, there are two books though.
I'll try because sometimes I like talking about it, but I'll try not to as much about the. It starts out with the pretty simple. Well, not simple, I guess. It starts out with two young boys, and I wanted to make them teenage boys, and they're basically thrust into an adventure that becomes more paramount as time goes. It becomes paramount to the point where now decisions, gatherings, and the ultimate events force him to go different directions. And then I think that that's kind of where it went from there. It's just that right. Book 2 basically takes on a little bit more where there's an expansion to the story. There's now the evil scourge is now revealed in more detail. Because the way I wrote the books is they're kind of open-ended, so anything can happen. It's almost like role-playing game. It's anything can happen, and that's basically what happened.
Okay, so all right. So tell us about you were in the historical role play projects, prior to writing. So tell us about the historical role play projects that inspired you to write your fictions.
Yes. Well, when I was a young man in high school, I had some friends who convinced and introduced me to role playing games, and just to give the readers an idea how old I am. In the 80s, okay, in the 80s, in the 80s, I really, I was an athlete, but I jumped in on it, and they convinced me. They lured me into this process of a D&D or Dungeons and Dragons and other Palladium role-playing games. So I jumped in there, and it came to the point where I started learning and loving the idea of a small gathering of people. Oops, I said the title again. A small gathering of people would get together on the weekends, Friday after school, and we would stay up till 10 hours at night and play games that involves a lot of creative juices and a lot of a lot of fun storytelling. So in the end, I also read them a lot of fantasy books going through my days. I don't read as much fantasy books nowadays as I used to because all I do is read for a living, for reports and things like that. But so that's what did it. I mean, and then it got to a point where a friend of mine, and we just basically created worlds and created modules and just had fun with it.
All right, great. I think it's okay to say the gathering once or twice because at the end we are actually promoting your book any which ways. So let me ask you, what was your character building process like? Do you think you were able to do justice to the characters?
Yeah, I think I did justice. I think one thing that I really looked at, part of my job is understanding human behavior. My career job, okay, and understanding human behavior and some of the traits and nuances and whatnot, nonverbal communications and things like that. So when creating the characters, I thought, well, you know what? I want to make them somewhat lifelike, like they could probably exist down the street from where you're at right now. And so I brought some because I myself don't care for superheroes that are so powerful that they unbearable, unbreakable, and unbendable, invincible. I prefer some frailty of some sort, and it's part of developing as humans. So, because I want my grandkids to read the book as well, I made it to where these characters are constantly developing, and mistakes are always happening. So, saying that, I didn't have any problems with it because I know how. And I also use some coworkers and people I know, family and the grandkids. I use some of their traits and mannerisms and things like that to build the characters. And then of course I added my own little twist for some things I like, but that's.
So those were your inspiration behind the characters, the normal people of life. All right, great. So, who was your favorite character, and why was he or she your favorite character?
The smart thing to say would be the main characters. But I will tell you that I have through this writing process, I have about 35 characters in the book, roughly.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a lot.
yeah,
Okay,
it's a lot.
so each and every one of them has a history. That's a lot. And so saying that, I would, I kind of like this guy named Lord Victor. He's kind of a weasel, conniving. Sometimes he doubts himself, he lacks confidence, makes decisions sometimes rash, but overall he lacks confidence. And then I like this female character named Deborah O'Neill, who is very motherly. And when everything seems dire, she seems to be the mama bear who keeps things together, which I think is very important in the world we live in versus just the fantasy world. So again, this is where I try to bridge that little gap from reality to fantasy world. But again, those are my two favorite characters. Well, I like all of them, but yeah, all right.
Well, you had to be biased with some characters, of course. And okay, so what kind of message did you want to convey in the book, and do you think you did a good job with it?
Coffee.
Yeah, sure. Good morning to you too.
The message I wanted to send was to convey the moral compass. Ultimately, when my grandkids read the book, or whomever reads the book, I want to see that there was throughout the course of what had transpired throughout the story, there's always been a decision. There's always been a view of the moral compass. There's always been a risk assessment. There's always been an evaluation of the surroundings. There's always been something. I want to convey basically in a nutshell that decisions have ramifications, and if you're righteous in your heart and you have a moral compass, no matter what decision you make, if your intentions are good, that something positive will come out of it, and that's kind of a karma thing. So I tried to now whether I'm successful at it. Well, that's a whole different ballgame. But I will tell you that I did enjoy the. There is a lot of moral messaging within the series, and that's. But I can't help it. I love moral messaging whenever I can. But again, it's I want to convey about the decisions and the moral compass and the righteousness of decisions.
All right. So basically, it just brings me to Newton's third law, which is to every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So I think that's the kind of message you would like to convey. So when you do good things happen to you, the karma kind of thing. That's great. That's amazing. So, what kind of responses have you got from your readers and or the people who reviewed your book? You recently went to a book signing also. Tell me about it.
Yes. Well, and to go back to that last, uh, even though there's just the moral compass is an issue in righteousness, and have a lot of kind of a theory, it wasn't always a great outcome, even the righteous ones. So, you made me run it. All right. Anyway, you know. Okay. So let me get them. Okay. So the question is, so a lot of people say it should be a movie. Okay, I get that a lot.
Yes.
Okay, I've had it professionally reviewed. Um, I had a professionally reviewed, and the first book, and the first book they basically says fully fleshed out characters, an action packed page turner, which is good. And then one is it has put out it's a fantasy prose that lies heavily on the classics. So yeah, man. But overall, I've had positive reviews on it. My first book signing back, I haven't had the book signing yet. That's being scheduled for the recent one, for the recent releases, right? But I've had a book gathering way back about 2 years ago. Well, I'm sorry, not scratch it, not that. Yeah, so it's being scheduled probably in the coming months. But overall, it's been a positive feedback, and I've learned a lot. That's what's important, because during this writing process, I've learned from other authors. I've read other books, and keep in mind, when I first started the writing process, I basically dismantled entertainment from my life. So I didn't watch movies. I didn't read books. Except the official government documents I had to read, but I didn't read anything. I didn't. So I kind of kept everything away from me for about 2 years while I sit there and just focus on the creation process. So again, and I'm sorry, I hate to go off a tangent like that, but I did like the. I think for the most part, I've had great support from the family and for people around me and coworkers. But the people who read it said they liked it quite a bit, and that makes me feel good. I mean, again, this was a tough battle at the beginning because I had to discover creative writing in comparison to official professional government document writing, which is a hard transition if you ever try it. But I enjoyed it, and I think most people I've talked to enjoyed it as well.
Well, that's great. And it's nice to see that, your family also supported the writing. It's amazing. So, are you working on anything else at the moment? And can you tell us about it without giving away too much? Maybe a gathering tree.
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to thank Ukiyoto. They went ahead and they gave me the thumbs up for the third book. So that third book's going to be released hopefully here in the coming months. I think the third book is my favorite. I mean, I don't want to be that, but I shouldn't say that. But this is my favorite. But I'm in the middle of the fourth book. I would say about 20% complete with the fourth book, and that'll be the last book of the series. And that last book of the series is, and then I plan on writing a murder mystery novel with a little bit of sci-fi tinge to it.
Okay.
And then I may delve into the, biography of some sort, autobiography of some sort, maybe.
Well, that's an amazing plan, actually, I would say. And it's very interesting to listen to all the work you're doing right now. So I think you can bring out a not movie, maybe, but possibly series, season 1, 2, 3, and 4 of The Gathering. We will be looking forward for it. But we are only a publishing house, so we're going to publish the books, obviously. So before we finish, what advice do you have for other writers?
Well, I have in the back about the author in my books on the very back where it says about the author. there's a line I use at the very end of my little blog there, blurb or whatever you call it. I always say this: if you have a story to tell, let it rip. Just write it. And I know there's a confidence level. I know every author goes through this confidence level where they feel like, oh my God, am I going to be approved or disapproved? It doesn't matter. Write the story. And all I would recommend is that once you write it and you feel like you have something, then seek out some knowledge from people who have the industry knowledge, like Ukiyoto. They have some industry knowledge on what approach to take, and then see what happens. See if it's and also try to find a reader or two to take a look at it, your manuscript. But by all means, do it. Let me throw this last little thing in here. I don't consider myself a writer. I consider myself a storyteller. There's a difference. I do write government documents, but I'm a storyteller. So keep in mind that those things, there's a distinction, and also be on the lookout. I'm going to be narrating my audiobooks. I will try to sound more, medieval-like,
Great. Anyways, it was lovely talking to you. We really enjoyed talking to you. And I'll hope to interview for your third book as well. So thank you so much, Paul, for being with us. And the caption you will find his book. So don't forget to buy it from our website. And we are so glad to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate you. You have a lovely day. And hey, The Gathering, Part 3. It's coming.
Thank you so much, Paul. Bye-bye.